Good morning. Welcome in. It's Sports by the Book. What I hit my knee on under the desk. Very good. Great start, Jeff. I'm Jeff Parles. Welcome in. It is Sports by the Book here on the first Saturday of July. There's a lot to get to. We also have another special guest co-host who will introduce after the starting five goes. Swoosh it. Very good, Sean. Very good. Big time sound effect on that. Now, number one, we start in soccer yet again. Get this out of the way real quick. Switzerland and England underway in the country of Germany. England closing about a plus 120 favorite, minus a half a goal, so pretty much the same across the board. If you're laying a half goal or if you've been in the three-way market for 90 minutes. The second game, which you see on the bottom of your screen, the Netherlands against Turkey. Netherlands minus 185, Turkey plus 510, plus 320 on the draw, 2.5 the total. Of course, the Dutch finished third in their group, but big favorites in both of their first two matchups in the knockout stage. We know one semifinal, Spain over Germany late in extra time, and then France over Portugal in penalties yesterday. What a day it was in Germany, 2 for 2 of games going 120. So those draw tickets for the 90+, very nice yesterday. Number 2, Uruguay and Brazil here in Vegas. That is the entree tonight. Brazil plus 175, Uruguay plus 185, draw 2-1. Sellout crowd expected at Allegiant Stadium. The biggest soccer crowd probably ever in the history of the city, probably when it's all said and done, and maybe even the biggest game that this city will host here in Vegas for a soccer match since they're not hosting matches in 2026. Number 3, the Yankees had Boston down to their last strike. Didn't matter. They lose in extras yesterday and continue their MLB worst record since June 15th. The Yankees now 3 behind Baltimore. Send their ace Garrett Cole to the bump today, minus 185 as they try to get this thing right. That game actually starts in an hour, so we'll look at that pretty quickly into the show. And then number 4, Phillies. They're 5th straight over yesterday. Ranger Suarez, though, to the bump tonight against Spencer Schwellenbach. Fun name to say. Braves just not the same. 8-6 yesterday. Phillies again, 5 straight overs after, again, being a mixed bag on where their totals were. And then number 5, you can take the 2-shot and bring him in for the first time today. You recognize this gentleman. He usually behind the glass.
Yeah, it's a little weird being on this side, but Thank you for having me on, Jeff.
Of course, the producer of Punchlines. You just heard him, Ryan McCormick. It's good to have you on. We are almost matching, which is okay. You
had to give the South Point a little shout out,
You told me when you walked in, it's a good thing that I wore the black polo yesterday. You knew we wouldn't be matching.
Yeah.
So blue, black, we're good to go. It's great to have you on this side. I know it's a little bit different, a lot brighter over here than what you're accustomed to back behind the glass.
Yeah, I am glad that you went through the soccer already. You and Tom did a great job yesterday and on the podcast and everything, but I would not be knowledgeable talking about that.
So I know my audience and I know my co-host here. I knew yesterday with Tom, who's really his specialty is soccer. So it was good to be able to talk through pretty much all these games. I do have a Switzerland to advance ticket coupled with a big future on Switzerland. I don't expect them to win this tournament. I don't even expect them to win this game. It kind of feels like after England survived that ridiculous match against Slovakia a few days ago that they're going to probably win this one.
I think I saw a tweet. It was from Chris Felica, the Bears, saying, can we just skip to France versus England in the 0-0 penalty kicks match already?
Well, I mean, it wouldn't shock me. I mean, I'm going to probably, if we get England-France in the final, I'm betting a draw. I can tell you that right now. France still has not scored a goal. They're in the semifinals of the second best tournament basically in the world. The only one, obviously, that's better is the World Cup.
Okay.
They have no goals from in play of their own, and they're in the semifinal. Yeah. It's been a very weird tournament so far.
Gotcha.
Over there in Germany. The only play I have today was the one that already played is going with Switzerland to advance, plus 145. That's all I have. If you want to bet on Brazil, Uruguay, I would take the draw for regulation and the under. I expect that to be a grinded out fest here in Vegas. So that would be the only way I'd look to play those here today. All right. We got a NFC West divisional recap coming in about 15 minutes from now.
Okay.
But before we get there, let's go through some baseball here. We'll also look at some futures markets as well because we haven't really done that recently of just updating you on where the World Series, the pennant for both leagues, pretty much the simplistics. More so, we've talked more about those award markets over the last few weeks. But just start with today. How about the Yankees and the Boston Red Sox? It was in the starting five. Brian McCormick, the Yankees stink. It is pretty amazing what has happened to them. And now they send their ace to the bump, Garrett Cole. I don't think you have any real justification. Market has been betting the Red Sox over the last few minutes. I don't think there's justification. You can lay $1.80 with the New York Yankees with the way they are going right now.
Yeah, I mean, since Stanton has gotten hurt, June 22nd, the team is batting .202 outside of Juan Soto and Aaron Judge. They are 2-9 in those games since Stanton got hurt, with a median of 3 runs scored in those games. They got all 3 runs last night, were scored in the 4th inning thanks to an error on a double play ball that could have gotten the Red Sox out of it. So the Yankees, are not able to score right now. And on the bump for the Red Sox is Josh Winkowski. Started the year in the bullpen, sent down to convert his role to a starter, and since being called back up, in his 2 starts, he's pitched 11 innings, has a 1 whip and a 1.64 ERA, and was the guy that cooled down the Padres when they scored 44 runs in their 5-game win streak. So if I am going to lean one way, it would be the Red Sox to take down the Yanks in New York.
The best possible price on the Red Sox right now here in the market is behind us. Now, plus 165 is the best number. It's mostly now plus 150, plus 155. Yeah, someone just hit it hard at the Superbook, because that just legitimately changed on my screen from plus 160 to plus 150. So the money coming in on the Red Sox. This is up from the opener, though, still. The best Yankee price, well, actually, someone just bet the Yankees again. Now it's minus 165 and plus 160 behind us. So this is on the move pretty quickly right now. So Red Sox money coming in late. Again, you're still getting the better the number from the opener on Boston if you were to go that route. 9's the total. I probably would lean to the under. Garrett Cole has not looked good coming off the IL his first few starts, not been able to give length. Gave up career high in home runs in a start against the Mets 2 starts ago.
Yep.
Also didn't strike anyone out, which is, for that guy, alarming.
Granted, it was the Grimace Mets.
Well,
so
the Grimace Mets have now giving up multiple home runs to Rowdy Tellez in one game. So we know how that's going at the moment.
Yep.
But, this would probably be a lean to the under. That would be the only thing I'd look at this point. Just as you mentioned, I mean, the Yankees, since Stanton, and I know a lot of Yankee fans like getting on Giancarlo. They love getting on him. He was the third guy. It also hasn't helped. You mentioned the whole team. Forget Soto and Judge. Judge obviously playing at a Ruthian pace right now, and Soto's still been awesome. Anthony Volpe's been arguably the worst hitting shortstop in the American League since Stanton's went out. On top of it, also last night, what ended up actually costing the Yankees the game was that ridiculous play in the second inning where Volpe doesn't hustle and doesn't score before they're able to tag LeMahieu out. There was also a kind of on LeMahieu for not getting in a longer rundown. But there are a lot of things wrong right now with this Yankee team, and there's not a lot of answers at the moment. They're going to have to do a lot of stuff at the trade deadline, get some bats, get some bullpen help, maybe even some starter help. Bad place to be for a team with the third best record of the American League right now in the Bronx. Speaking of a team that is super duper red hot here, Ryan McCormick. How about the Astros?
Yeah.
The Astros again last night, despite Jose Miranda, by the way, finally ending his streak at 10 for 10 for the Minnesota Twins. The Astros, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday and also on Thursday with Alex as well. The Astros don't look now. The Houston Astros are only 2 games behind the Seattle Mariners. The Mariners' lack of offense have let Houston hang around. You still can get some small plus prices. Best price I saw this morning was plus 115 on Houston to win the American League West. Yeah, you could have had better, but the market and the handicap is totally different right now than when they were sitting at 6-1, 7-1 about 6 weeks ago. Houston will send Hunter Brown, who obviously to begin the year had a horrific start to the year, has now started to turn it around over the last month.
Yep.
The guy who he's even better than the guy who we thought he would be. Goes against Joe Ryan, who I know the betting markets love betting on Joe Ryan. There we go. Minus 134 on Minnesota, 7.5 here, Ryan. Any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, you had mentioned that the Astros have been the best team in baseball. I mean, if you look at since they were 12 games below 500 on May 8th, they were 12-24. They have since then are 34-8 team.
Yeah, pretty good.
Only 6 other teams in Major League Baseball have 30-plus wins in that span, and only 2 have less than 20. 2 other teams have less than 20 losses. Hunter Brown has an ERA over 4 right now because he had a terrible month of May. He gave up 25 runs in 19 innings pitched, but outside of the month of May, Brown has a 1.86 ERA, a 1.03 WHIP, and 75 Ks in 67 and a third innings pitched. In his start versus the Twins over a month ago, June 2nd, he struck out 7 in 6 innings, gave up 2 homers to Trevor Larnach and Jose Miranda, allowing 3 runs on 5 hits, but didn't get a decision that game because the Twins ended up winning 4-3. If you look at Joe Ryan, he's been one of the Twins' most consistent pitchers all year. He pitched at least 5 full innings in all 17 of his starts, only giving up 4+ runs in 3 of those. He had his worst start of the year against the Astros on June 1st, giving up his season high of 8 hits, 5 runs, 4 home runs, 2 of which to Yordan Alvarez, 1 to Jose Abreu, who is no longer with the Astros, and Kyle Tucker. And he also had his second fewest strikeout total of 4. So if I am going to go away, it would be the Astros, who put up 13 last night.
It's a totally different team, this Houston team. They looked old. They looked like maybe the run's over at this point. Remember, Alex Bregman's a free agent. There was a lot of talk after that bad April for them. Hey, Alex Bregman probably is going to get traded at the deadline here.
Yep.
And I know that was months away at that point, and here they are. They're going to be as buying as anyone, because you look at that, and we'll get to those futures in a little bit.
Yep.
They are as attractive of a bet right now to win the American League or the World Series as anyone out there. There is one factor that I saw yesterday that is a little bit scary that I think you can figure out by context clues of someone who took a nice slice of the apple of the Houston Astros. But more so than anything, Ryan, this team, you figured it.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah. This Houston team, we know it's still pretty much for the most part. Yeah, there's some changes, obviously different manager now, and they've gone through a few managers during this era anyway because of the trash can scandal. But this team does know how to win. And we saw it last year where they were pretty mediocre for 2.5 months. They end up catching the Rangers, end up hosting. Now, granted, that series was backwards where the road team won all 7, but had home field in the ALCS last year against the eventual World Series champs. And
every single game in that ALCS was lost by the home team.
Yeah.
The away team won 7 of 7.
7-0 on the road team. It was, again, the Astros now, of course, did that famously in the 2019 World Series as well. But this is look, in the AL, and we'll go through it in a little bit. Baltimore, I think, is the best team. I know Cleveland has a high-end record. This is the team to look out for in Houston. Any thoughts on your Cubbies, or do you just want to skip that? Because even though yesterday against an Angels team that we know is not any good, Ryan, even though yesterday was fine for the Cubs, really the last 2 days have been fine for the Cubs. I mean, this has been. You're a Cubs fan. You're a Chicago fan through and through. They're minus 157 today.
Yep.
With throwing Kyle Hendricks. Kyle Hendricks a minus 157 favorite, even though he's been better recently. He's a little bit of a fun one.
Yeah, other than his last start, yeah.
But this has been an abject disappointment all the way through for this Cubs team that had,
for sure.
Really, to me, I thought they were going to win the NL Central. I didn't really like anyone in that division, and here they are sitting in last place on July the 7th. Yeah,
I mean, you pay Greg Counsell $40 million to manage the team for 5 years. You're looking to do something. But yeah, it is Kyle Hendricks, the professor, on the bump for the Cubs, and then Tyler Anderson, Las Vegas native, on the bump for the Angels. Anderson in his 8 losses has gotten a total of 24 runs in support. In his 7 wins, he has 47 runs of support. He made a start last year versus the Cubbies, facing 4 of the same guys in the lineup today, gave up 4 runs on 5 hits, no homers, 5 Ks, and one of the hits would be a homer today in Wrigley. Looking at the other side, Kyle Hendricks is just shy of 10 years of service, which is probably why he's still on the Cubs roster, why he's still starting games. They did try and move him to the bullpen earlier this year, where he was more successful than he has been as a starter. But yeah, if the Cubbies are going to make the turn and end this 2-month slump. It has to be right now. They have to sweep the Angels right here. They did get Justin Steele's first career complete game yesterday, but after this series against the Angels and before the All-Star game, they're going to Baltimore and to St. Louis, two of the hottest teams in baseball. Yeah. And if you're going to make the turnaround, it needs to be right now.
Cardinals just keep winning. A big comeback yesterday in Washington, Baltimore. We know how good they are. This is just one of these where I'm not going to touch it, but I'm surprised Hendricks is this big of a favorite. Even though other than his last start, he's been a little bit better. I just can't get there on the Angels. I know Tyler Anderson was a nice little reclamation project with the Dodgers, and he's actually been pretty good this year for the most part. But I just can't get there. That Los Angeles Angels
of Anaheim,
even though not technically anymore, even though we know it is.
California Angels, whatever they want.
Hey, this should go back to the California Angels, even though we did this with the City Connect jerseys on Punchlines. Their City Connects pay a nice homage to those California Angels days. Pretty darn good.
Pretty
sweet.
You
haven't seen them. I just want to bring this up real quick. I don't have a play on the game. The Mets and the Pirates, two mediocre left-handed pitchers in Peterson and Falter today. Mets are minus 121. After yesterday, Rowdy Tellez, the Pirates first off ran out of fireworks.
Yeah,
because they hit 7 home runs, which is Pittsburgh. The Pirates have been playing baseball since the 1800s. And they tied the record for most home runs in a game by their franchise last night. Rowdy Tellez, who we know a bunch of Pirate fans, obviously, are not fans of Rowdy Tellez.
Nope.
On how he's performed this year. Him and Brian Reynolds yesterday, 4 homers combined.
Yeah.
11 driven in, 2 salamis between the two of them. OptiStats, our good friends over at OptiStats, who we love using for Line of the Night on Punchlines. Brian Reynolds and Rowdy Tellez are the first pair of teammates in Major League Baseball history to each hit multiple homers, including a slam each in the same game. Again, this is why we love baseball.
Yeah.
We've been playing this sport since the 1860s. And something that's never happened before happened last night.
Can happen every night. Yeah, I mean, if you look at the Pirates game last night, they scored 14 runs, and every single one of those runs was driven in by a home run. So their offense has woken up. At least they did last night. It was their 5th time this season scoring 10-plus runs. But something that we've talked about on Punchlines, in games following a Paul Skeens win, the Pirates are 0-6 with Bailey Falter on the mound. If you go just games following Paul Skeens starting, the Pirates are 2-7 in Bailey Falter starts. So if you're going to look at a side, at least based on that trend, you would look at the Mets. They do have David Peterson on the mound, who has been one of their most consistent starters. The Mets are 5-1 in his starts, winning each of the last 5. Their only loss was to the Dodgers in his first start of the year. He has gotten 48 runs of support in those 5 wins.
Mets have lost 3 in a row. This is the longest losing streak since the Grimace era has begun. It's been a little bit of an alarming, again, we know their bullpen stinks. They do get Edwin Diaz back after the 10-game suspension, which is important, but still not the greatest of bullpens, as we know, leading up to him. I want to go to a game that, let's go to the Nats and the Cardinals real quick, because I want to just bring this up. Because this is another situation, as we talked about. Alex and I have talked about this when Mackenzie Gore pitches for Washington. We think that the pricing gets a little bit aggressive on Washington. And this is another case today where this opened minus 121 on Washington behind us. The Nats have been bet up to minus 129. Now, I don't love Lance Lynn, who's going on the other end. But this Cardinal team is just finding ways to win. They were 5 runs in the hole last night. They end up coming from behind, winning in extra innings. Them and the Padres have actually separated a little bit from the group for that wild card race. They have actually built out a 3.5 game lead now in that race. This is just one of those, Ryan, where I would be looking at St. Louis and only St. Louis. I just in the camp at this point that as good as Gore has been, and he's been really good yet again. Yeah, him and C.J. Abrams, those key pieces coming back in that Soto deal 2 years ago, but I don't think it's justification for this pricing at minus 129.
Yeah, I mean, the argument for the Cardinals is they're one of the hottest teams in baseball. They've won 31 of their last 48 games in Lance Lynn's starts. In that time frame, they are 6-3. Lance Lynn had his best start of the season last time out, allowing 0 earned runs on 2 hits, throwing only 79 pitches through 6 innings, getting his 5th quality start of the year. And then for Mackenzie Gore, he did pitch great the last time out, 5 2/3 innings, 8 Ks, 5 hits, 1 run allowed against your Grimace Mets. But the bullpen ended up giving another 8 runs, leading to the Nats losing their 3rd straight Mackenzie Gore start. And Gore has gone at least 5 full innings in 14 of 17 starts this year. Yes, but the Nats are just 7-10 in those games.
Yeah, again, that last part's the key of it. Again, Gore, as good as he's been, you're still underwater. You're still losing money.
Yep.
And they were a small favorite on Monday night. Lose that one. We had the opportunity against the Diamondbacks about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. Lost that as a favorite. So would only be St. Louis. And I wouldn't bet it big. Would probably go half unit on this.
Sure.
Just because I don't love the starter on the other end.
Right.
So that would be a little bit more of a hesitation. I want to hit 3 more baseball games before we shift over to the futures market and the NFL. San Francisco and Cleveland. Harrison and Allen, a battle of lefties here. -125 on the guards, +115 on the takeback on San Francisco. I like this game under. That's the number I like here at 8.5. I just think more so than anything, at some point this Cleveland offense is going to come back to earth, and they are one of the best stories, if not the best story in Major League Baseball this year. They still have a nice 6-game lead over Minnesota. They're tied in the loss column with Baltimore for the best record in the American League. They played 2 less games, so Baltimore technically ahead right now, even with games in hand for the guards. But this is one of those where left-handed pitching, even though Cleveland has hit left-handed pitching well, I do like Kyle Harrison's stuff in this matchup. And the Giants, we know, are a big hit and miss. No pun intended on that with their offense.
Yeah.
Even though I will say, Leo Ramos, who, if he had come up at the beginning of the year, and it might be hard for anyone to beat Paul Skeens at this point after, again, having the most 7 strikeout games to begin a career in the first 10, and also the fact that I think at this point he might be the 3rd best pitcher in baseball, even though he's only 10 starts into his career. Ramos would have a really nice argument right now if it wasn't for Paul Skeens. Yeah.
I mean, and just adding to that point, did you see Jeff Passan wants to see Skeens start the All-Star game?
You know what? Again, if baseball were smart, and that we know that more times than not, they aren't, it would be a no-brainer. It would be a no-brainer that Paul Skeens start the All-Star. I know people in Philadelphia would be upset, but who cares? Who cares if people in Philadelphia are upset?
Yeah, they have the three of the 4 infielders, but getting to see Paul Skeens on the mound versus Aaron Judge, Yordan Alvarez, the rest of that
Soto,
the rest of that AL lineup would be a whole lot of fun. But going back to that Giants Guardians game, the Guardians have traded loss, win, loss, win, loss, win. In each of their last 7 games, they look to rebound after last night's 4-2 loss. The Guardians are the most profitable team in baseball, 28-11 in home games, meaning if you bet $100 on the money line in each of those home games, you'd be up almost $1,000, $994. And the Guardians on the run line in all games this season would have you up over $1,250.
Woo!
The Giants, 23rd in Major League Baseball record-wise on the road this season. They are 18-26. If you would bet $100 on their money line on them on the road, you would be down $653. So I would be looking at the Guardians, to bounce back after last night's loss.
Under for me, guards for Ryan in that one at Progressive Field. All right, I actually lied. We only have one more, or 2. We do have 2 more that I want to get to, I should say. Sorry about that. Ranger Suarez goes for Philadelphia. So, Ryan, we talked about this yesterday with the Phillies. They are winning games despite the fact that they're without Bryce Harper, they're without Kyle Schwarber right now. I mean, you're getting Ranger Suarez, who has been as good as anyone in the National League, as a coin flip against Mr. Schwellenbach today for Atlanta.
What a name.
I would only look to Philly here in a flip 'em situation at -105. Actually, the market, you missed the best of it. It was even money on Philadelphia for about 7 hours if you're up early this morning here at the South Point.
Yeah.
But I still think that's good on a coin flip situation on Philadelphia with arguably their best pitcher going.
Yeah, I mean, we got to pick them right now with, the best pitcher in the National League record-wise and ERA-wise. So that's a very tempting look at. But Ranger Suarez in his last start was his first time of the year being pulled performance-wise. He gave up 6 runs on 10 hits, recording no strikeouts in 5 innings pitched against the Marlins, one of the worst teams in baseball. But the Phillies are 14-3 in Suarez starts this season. And then looking at the other side, Spencer Schwellenbach, the rookie for the Braves. The Braves are 1-5 in his starts, but each of the last 4 have gone under the total. So I do like the Phillies in this one, now at that pick 'em minus 105 price, but a little tempted to go on the under, especially with no Harper or Schwarber for the Phils.
Don't mind that as well. The Braves, that we talked about yesterday with Tom, just not the same. No Acuna. That offense has been very average this year. Not what you expect out of this franchise with all that talent there. Going to a battle of 2 first-place teams in the NL. Credit Tom Viola yesterday. Gave out Brewers' first 5 on the run line. Didn't need the run line. Yeah. You win that first 5 outright, and good thing you took the first 5 because they lost the game in 5.
Yeah,
so,
they fell apart.
5-run fourth, that was it for Milwaukee. Rhys Hoskins slam, and that was that. We have a coin flip tonight. Freddie Peralta against Paxton. This would only be an under, but the problem is, as we are, again, with this Dodger offense, with the way they've been, it is very hard to look at unders and be confident at all. The one thing I will say, there is 1-9 in the market, which is the best price, which is circa right now is a 9, laying juice to the under. I don't mind if you do that, but still, I think it is a little bit of concern, especially with Paxton on the bump for the Dodgers. As good as Peralta's been, we know the Dodgers will put up some runs at least. Yeah.
But the Brewers have been very streaky this season in Peralta starts. They won each of his first starts this season. Then in May, they lost 4 out of 5. In June, they won 5 of 6, and this is going to be his first start in July. But it is kind of shocking to see the Dodgers at a pick 'em price of minus 105 when this team is supposed to win over 100 games this year. Very tempting to take that price. Almost an underdog at home with Jimmy Paxton on the mound. He had his worst start of the year the last time out, giving up 9 runs on 12 hits in just 4 innings pitched. In starts for him this season, after a start in which he allowed 4+ runs, he's bounced back, allowing 1 run or fewer, as well as 5 hits or less, including just 2 hits in both of the last 2 instances. And the Brewers last night scored 5 runs on just 4 hits. So they weren't seeing the ball well out of Glasnow last night, and then the rest of the Dodgers bullpen. But I do like the Dodgers tonight.
I do want to bring up one last game here in Southern California, because the Padres Diamondbacks 9th inning was
so much
wacko as you can possibly get.
Yeah.
Machado ends up walking off. By the way, that has kind of been the resurgence for San Diego, where Manny Machado has started hitting for power again.
Yeah.
Because going into the month of June, it was like, oh, Manny's OPS is low because the slugging's down. He has 4 homers in the first 2 months of the year. What's going on with Machado? He's hit 9 since.
Yeah.
So Machado has really started hitting for power, which has coincided with Tatis going on the IL. Jackson Merrill, who we talked about the other day, again, Paul Skeens is going to win the Rookie of the Year, assuming he throws enough innings. He might not even have to now after the way this has gone. Jackson Merrill's replicated Tatis's production. Profar is having his career year.
Yep.
The Padres are minus 120 tonight against Waldron, who has 6 stuff to say the very least, because when you throw
being able to throw that knuckler.
You throw 94 and then hit him with a knuckler.
Yeah.
That's effective. I would lean to San Diego. I will say this, the Padres right now, Ryan, we talked about it a moment ago with St. Louis. Credit to these teams, because this was a jumbled disaster about a month ago. And here you are right now, where the Cardinals are 3 games clear to Giants, who are the next team in the wild card race, and the Padres are a half game ahead of them. So a little bit of distance here for St. Louis and San Diego, trying to hold off those teams that are behind them, where, again, the Diamondbacks, the Giants, the Mets, the Pirates, and the Reds are all within a game of each other right now.
Yeah, I mean, the Padres almost had a pretty epic collapse last night. They gave up 6 runs in the top of the ninth, one of those homers being a grand slam. But they did get the 2 home runs in the bottom of the ninth in order to walk it off. But the last time they walked it off in dramatic fashion, which was 2 Mondays ago with Jerickson Profar hitting that walk-off single against the Nationals, they started that win streak of 5 games that I mentioned earlier, scoring 44 runs in those 5 games. So going against Brandon Pfaadt, who has been very... He gets through the innings, but pretty inconsistent with the runs allowed. He's gone at least 5 innings, 15 outs in each start this season. Has gone at least 18 outs in 13 of 17 starts. But the most impressive part about that, he's only thrown over 100 pitches one single time. So going 15 plus outs or 18 plus outs. He's only thrown 100 pitches one time this season.
Well, is he due?
Yeah.
But again, this is good information to know. Of course, outs recorded.
Right.
A very popular prop that is out there right now. I would imagine that his got to be maxing out at 16 and a half, probably more likely than not. But yeah, that's an interesting tidbit there. There for this Padre and Diamondback game. Again, 7.5 on the total.
Yep.
Padre, they exceeded that in the 9th inning last night between the two of them. Padres right now, second wild card in the National League. All right, we'll take a quick break and we get back. We're going to go over to the NFL, Ryan. We all have our order of finishes. We have Alex's order of finish as well as Alex with a few well-deserved days off here. The last 2 and a few next week. Now the NFC West. See what where we have Matthew Stafford and the Rams, along with the Niners, the Seahawks, and the Cardinals when we get back. Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.
From the South Point Studio, the perfect blend of sports.
But I think the Niners are going to wear them down. Detroit Pistons lost their 36 games.
Comedy.
See over-under on that relationship lasting. I'm going to put mayo in the coffee.
Yeah.
I am beautiful.
And a whole lot of Pittsburgh.
In Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh. Yeah.
Pittsburgh. Join Ryan McCormick.
That's at least 2 picks outside of our own in the first round next year. Rio.
And host Frank Nicotero.
I look at the clock, I go, ah!
Watch Punchlines live at noon every weekday.
Once you've satisfied your hunger, get ready for more of the hottest casino games in Vegas. Our 24-hour, 30-table non-smoking poker room proudly hosts all the most popular poker games with a variety of betting limits. Visit the poker room for a schedule of daily tournaments. Whether you're going to hold 'em or fold 'em, the best place for poker is at South Point Casino. You'll notice that our craps tables are usually the loudest in the casino. If you've never played, join one of our free craps lessons to find out what makes this game so exciting. Check with the craps dealer for schedules and give it a roll. Bingo is also an exciting way to spend your time. We offer 7 sessions of bingo every day. Bingo! And each session includes a cash ball jackpot, 12 bingo games, a progressive double action game, and a $10,000 bonus coverall. Electronic units are available. If you haven't played bingo with us, give it a try today. Guests can also get in on the action at our one-of-a-kind race and sports books. 2 separate rooms designed to maximize your experience and comfort. Our sports book, with over 400 seats, puts you right in the middle of the action, 24 hours a day.
Welcome back in. Sports by the Book is the show here on a Saturday. I'm Jeff Parles, Ryan McCormick, the producer of Punchlines with Frank Nicotero, Monday through Friday at noon here in the studio, here at South Point Studio. You had a nice day off yesterday.
I did, yeah. I got to enjoy the 4th of July night, not having to do any kind of prep work. And then yesterday I got time to do my homework.
There you go. Very, very good there, Ryan. By the way, I know this is always the case here in Vegas. You've lived here your whole life.
That I have.
The let's just call it the amateur fireworks shows here in this city are like nothing I've never. And again, I know I've never lived in California, so I know like every year on social media it circulates when all of Los Angeles has fireworks going up all the time.
Yep.
But I will say that some of the amateur fireworks that were out there were on par with some casino properties, which was a little bit surprising on the 4th.
Yeah, I mean, there might be a reason that fireworks here, the ones that shoot in the air, are illegal, because there were plenty of fires around the area.
Yeah.
People don't really know
It's
how to handle it the way the other states do.
Yeah, I will say this. It is, and we live in a desert.
Yeah.
Very easy for that. It is a little surprising that you don't hear of more. There are, like you said, there are plenty of fires as always, which credit to Las Vegas Fire Department for getting, and Henderson Fire Department for getting those out.
Yep.
And nothing too significant.
Yeah.
It is. I'm not saying it's smart, Ryan, to be setting them off at the level that people do. But
no, but it is fun to see.
I'm just saying it looks okay. Not the smartest, obviously, in the middle of a desert. Before we get to the NFC West, let's go to baseball futures real quick, because we were going to do this today. Just updating you on where everything's at. We can start with both the leagues here with our good friend Sean, and of course Drew Dog in the corner there here as always.
Drew Dog
on Saturday. How many G's are we up to on Drew Dog?
Well, he was at 5G when he made the video from going to the Aces
So
Fever
he's
game,
like Verizon then.
but we squared it.
Whoa!
So he's up to 25 G's if you do the math.
Whoa! Look at that. You're making us do real math this morning, McCormick. That's always a hard go. Let's start with the NL. Let's start there. The Dodgers still the favorites here. Not much of a shock here,
Yeah, as they should be.
Plus 150. Phillies at 2-1. Braves still sitting there at 5-1. Milwaukee at 8-1. The Padres at 15-1. The Cardinals at 20-1. Now you look at the rest of the board here, Ryan. That whole mediocre average clump behind the teams in the wild card right now. San Francisco's 25-1, Cincinnati's 30-1, Arizona, Chicago, Mets all 30-1, Pittsburgh at 40-1. Nats Marlins down. I don't think have much of a shot. I would not bet the Cubs either. Obviously,
No chance,
since I think they're more likely to finish in the last.
Nice donation.
Than anything.
Yeah.
You know, we could have had a better number a few weeks ago at other shops, but the way San Diego is playing right now, and you know that they will be willing to be active at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
To at least add whatever bullpen. I think they're actually pretty good if they get healthy starting rotation-wise, actually. But San Diego's the one that stands out to me. Again, we've seen in this ridiculous new format that the NL 1 and 2 seeds are already 0-4 in the 4 division series since we made it 6 teams in the postseason in each league. Of course, the Dodgers and the Braves are the culprits on that. Looks like the Braves are going to be able to play their way through as a wild card as opposed to a division champion, which is a weird way to phrase it, but that's kind of what a little bit different.
Yeah,
with Atlanta having no success.
Down double-digit games too.
Yeah, they're not catching the Phillies. It would be San Diego would be the only one I'd really look at right now on the NL side. It's just too short on the 2 favorites, Philly and the Dodgers, even though I do think when it's all said and done, I do think the Phillies will find their way through the NL this year.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. The Padres look like they are having a ton of fun playing baseball, look like they have a bunch of momentum, are able to hit the ball well. But as we've seen, they just don't have the history of being able to beat the Dodgers in the playoffs. And that's going to be the biggest question because the Dodgers are the most complete team in the NL. They have weapons on every single part of their lineup, every single part of their pitching staff. They're going to get Joe Kelly back, who has the experience in the playoffs. But is there any more fun atmosphere than Philly in the playoffs?
No, it's the best environment in baseball at this
point.
point.
I mean, those are the 2 teams that I'm looking at that I'm most confident in, even though the prices are so short. I do think it is the Dodgers or Phillies league to lose.
On the American League side of things, Ryan, talked about Houston before, and again, shop around for prices. Astros are 8-1 behind us. The Yankees are still the betting favorites at 2-1. Orioles plus 350. Mariners plus 450. Guards 5-1. Astros 8-1. Minnesota and Kansas City 10-1. Boston at 25-1. I'll throw the Rangers in there because the AL West at least is not too strong, and maybe if you get hot, you can make up some ground. But they are 8 behind Seattle and 6 behind Houston, sitting there at 35-1. No one else, I don't think, has a shot. This is just not Tampa's year. The Blue Jays have been as annoying of a team to bet on as humanly possible this year. Detroit, still not there. And then obviously the bottom feeders are bad, to say the very least,
Yep.
in Oakland, the Angels, and the White Sox. These numbers, and again, shop around town, shop around wherever you may be betting. The Astros and the Baltimore Orioles would probably be the only two ways that I would look. I think Baltimore being able to learn from a year ago,
Yep.
really just ugly series all the way around. They had not been swept the whole year, and of course get swept in the playoff series.
Yep.
And I talked about this with Alex. I think Corbin Burns should be the favorite in the American League Cy Young. I know Scooble
Okay.
is. He's had a great year. But
No
Corbin
Lugo?
Burns has given Baltimore the thing they lacked horribly last year, which is a bona fide ace who you know is going to give you the shutdown game. And for Baltimore to have that type of guy in their rotation for the postseason this go around, you have to look at them differently. Also a year older, and also all these young guys are better than they were a year ago as well for the most part. Baltimore at plus 350, and then Houston again. There are some tens out there in the market. You find double digits on Houston. I would say that those are the two you look at in the American League side.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the history, the Astros have made, 7 straight ALCS?
Yes,
Um,
pretty good.
So, I mean, yeah, being the hottest team in baseball right now at that kind of price with the kind of history that they have is very, very tempting. Cleveland, with the best bullpen ERA in baseball, they are able to shut teams down at the end of the games. The Mariners, I do not like at all.
Nope.
They cannot hit. They're batting .218 as a team so far this season. They are let me find it real quick. So they are 38-52 to their team total of over 4.5 runs this season. So 38
Overs.
52 unders. They are 36, 47, and 7 to the over in general. So 36 overs, 47 unders, and 7 pushes. They've been playing playoff baseball scoring-wise all year because we know postseason baseball has good pitching, not a whole lot of hitting a lot of the time. So it just looks like their lineup, I'm phrasing it as playing playoff baseball, but their lineup can't hit.
The whole thing with Seattle, just that Julio Rodriguez is not the same guy.
Right.
He's someone who you expect going into the year, top 10 player in baseball, top 5 player in baseball. If you want to expected Seattle to be a legitimate threat, and they're still winning the division with this, but long-term sustainability over the next few months just does not seem likely with the way that they're winning games.
No, I mean, you talked about the Astros and the Rangers being on their heels in that division. I do think it is one of those teams that they're going to continue to be hot, or the Rangers, at least with Scherzer coming back, with DeGrom possibly coming back, are much more likely to win that division just because I don't think the Mariners' success is sustainable with the way they've been hitting. I mean, they lead the league in strikeouts this year with 912.
Woo!
The next closest is the Oakland A's with 857. They have almost 60 more strikeouts than the A's, being the worst team in baseball. This hitting is not good for the Mariners. And then that Yankees price being 2-1, them being the favorite to win the American League pennant. They need to rebound. They need their hitting back. They need to have performances from their starting pitching. Their bullpen can't collapse the way that they have the last few games. I'm a little disappointed to admit that I did take a Yankees to win the World Series ticket before Stanton got hurt at 4-1, which is now 5-1 at the book that I placed it. So I could double down and get a better price, but I don't know if I like it anymore.
It is. They really need to make some significant moves at the deadline because the way this is going, they won't miss the playoffs. There just isn't enough. There aren't enough teams behind them to really catch them unless they just keep playing at this 200 pace, which obviously you would expect a turn at some point. But yeah, the American League race is quite interesting because those American League Central teams being better than you thought, really throwing a nice little wrench into this thing with Minnesota and Kansas City being better teams than we expected this year. All right, we'll take one last break here. When we get back, we will get to the NFC West. We also welcome Vinny Magliulo on set when we get back. Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.
South Point is also proud to provide a variety of relaxing amenities for the guests who want to be pampered. Soak up the sun and let your stress melt away in our lagoon-style paradise swimming pool. a relaxing getaway where you can bask in the desert sun and enjoy seasonal food and bar service poolside. And if you really want to escape, come to Spa Costa del Sur. From couple suites to a co-ed wet area, our spa caters to business and leisure travelers who want to unwind and elevate their senses. A visit to one of our spa's steam, sauna, or whirlpool treatment rooms will leave any guest feeling like they can take on the world. Our gaming amenities include over 60 table games and over 2,600 of the most popular slot and video poker machines. We have penny slots, including the popular Buffalo games, and real machines like Wheel of Fortune, Triple Sevens, and Megabucks. If you prefer video poker, try Deuces Wild, Double Double Bonus, or a variety of multi-denomination games. Or try your hand at one of the most popular casino table games in the world, Blackjack. Don't let the game intimidate you. Blackjack, also known as 21, is both easy and fun. And our dealers are always happy to assist. And the best part? Blackjack always pays 3 to 2. Next, check out the roulette tables. Roulette is one of the easiest casino games to learn, and so much fun to play. It's a favorite of both beginners and seasoned players. In addition to blackjack and roulette, our casino pit features over 60 popular table games like Baccarat, Pai Gow Poker, 3-Card Poker, Ultimate Texas Hold'em, and Mississippi Stud. So get out of your room and come join in the fun.
Welcome back in Sports by the Book, South Point Studio. Jeff Parles, Ryan McCormick. There he is on the far side. Vinny Magliulo is here.
Gentlemen,
good morning.
how are we doing today, fellas?
Fantastic. How are you?
Good. Good baseball stuff. Good talk. Good job. Good job. Well done.
Where are your cleats?
My cleats?
Yeah.
I got them right in the back.
They're in the back?
Right in the office.
Again, Vinny and Chris, of course, throwing out the first pitch on Las Vegas Gamblers Night.
Yeah,
that's right.
Up at the ballpark, and Vinny, I didn't have to move my glove. Set the target, hit the target. We're good to go.
That's it. Some people always say, listen, I got a few good innings left. I have a few good throws left. I don't know how many innings.
Oh, man. So it is the conclusion of our NFC West week. Of course, we did it with Alex throughout the week. Well, I'll let our guest go first, Ryan McCormick. What do you have here for your 1 through 4, and then we can hear from Vinny on where all those numbers are sitting at right now.
Well, obviously the Niners are one of the best rosters in all of the National Football League. They did lose the Super Bowl last year. And if you look at losers of the Super Bowl the last 15 years, only 3 of those teams failed to make the playoffs the following season, including the 49ers in 2020. But that was because they were bitten by that injury bug. If they can avoid that this year and Christian McCaffrey finds a way to dodge the Madden curse, this division is the Niners. They do have one of the best coaches in the entire National Football League in Kyle Shanahan. But my biggest question on the defensive side of the ball, looking at Dre Greenlaw coming back from his injury and then losing Eric Armstead on the defensive line. He was very much a run stopper on that defensive line, as well as a complete leader in that locker room. He was the Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee for them the last 3 seasons. So how will the Niners be able to fill that void? I know that they did bring in some pieces, but their best case scenario for me is that they enter that Week 7 matchup against the Chiefs with an undefeated, that game being an undefeated matchup, the Chiefs being then 5-0 because they have their bye week in Week 6, and the Niners being 6-0. But after that bye week is where that health gets really important for them. I do think that the league gave them a gift, going to Miami just before Christmas, not having to deal with that heat on that visitor sideline, and then getting the Lions at home just before New Year's, kind of to end that season. So I do see best case scenario they go 14-3 and can win that 1 seed.
Vinny, they have going into the year one of the highest win totals in the NFL yet again. Remember last year, only one team won more than 12. That was Baltimore. Everyone else won 12 or less, but 12 would be good enough on the Niners side. Right now, 11.5 right now on the Niners.
Yeah, 11.5 there. You mentioned the Ravens, by the way. They did bet the Ravens under the 11.
Okay.
We used 11 flat, which is minus 110 to the over and under. Now 11 under minus a quarter, so which is kind of interesting because there's been a lot of Ravens support in the Super Bowl in the Super Bowl futures. They're down to 8-1 after opening 10 or 12, depending on where you looked. But as far as the Niners go, 11.5 under 30. We've not moved it, so it's still a high number. I mean, if you think to Ryan's point, if you think they can get to 12 or 13 wins, you're going to get plus money, plus a dime to the over. The bottom line about the Niners is when you look at that division, they've got the most talent in the division. Armstead is a significant loss because not only from the pass rushing standpoint, what a good pass rush does makes your defensive secondary that much better too. But their creativity offensively, sometimes it may get a little too creative, which I think kind of bites them. But when you look at their talent overall compared to the rest of the division, where the Rams are the second choice at just under 4-1, we've got them at 380. A terrific. Speaking of coaching, though, McVay did a terrific coaching job last year. I think the Rams figure to be better too. This coming season, I think we'll see what their defense can look like. But their second half of the season last year was terrific.
Well, with the Rams, it feels so. We're 3 years into the Stafford era there. Stays healthy year one, you win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Does not stay healthy year two, it's an absolute train.
Disaster.
Yep.
Stays healthy last year. I mean, that was a coin flip game against Detroit. They lost in the playoff game. They lost by a point. I still don't know why McVay punted late in that game when he only had one timeout left. In a 1-point game, I get it if Detroit.
And as good a coach as I mentioned he is, that was a questionable one, right?
It's always been a knock on McVay, some weird in-game stuff.
Yeah.
But again, you mentioned it. They're replacing Aaron Donald, the LA Rams. Aaron Donald is arguably the best defensive player from this era. He's good. First time when he's eligible for Canton in 5 years, he's going right in.
Immediately.
Going right in.
First ballot.
And it's very hard to replace that because part of Aaron Donald's greatness, forget the numbers, you have to put 3 guys on him. And that opened up pass rushers on the outside. Now, they did draft a pass rusher in the first round with their first round pick in basically a decade, taking Jared Verse out of Florida State. But I'm just curious with the Rams. I think they will be good enough as long as Stafford stays upright to make the postseason again. If Stafford gets hurt, Jimmy Garoppolo is the backup. Granted, he is suspended the first 2 games for that PED suspension. But it is going to be a very different-looking defense for L.A. this year because of no Aaron Donald. And I know that's master of obvious there, but when you lose the Hall of Fame player who is still playing at a Hall of Fame pace, even in his last year, your defense is going to suffer because of that.
Yeah. I mean, Aaron Donald being double and triple teamed last year opened up the ways for Kobe Turner to lead the team in sacks, or lead the defensive line in sacks and lead the defensive line in tackles. So how will Kobe Turner be able to handle that by himself, not having that guy to distract the rest of the offensive line? But as you said, the Rams did draft Jared Verse, but they also drafted one of Jared Verse's teammates from Florida State with their second pick. So that's a very interesting way to just immediately bring in chemistry to that defensive line to try and get to answer that question immediately. But yeah, as you mentioned, that the health of Matthew Stafford is their biggest key, as well as Cooper Kupp. If both of those players can stay healthy for the full season, this Rams team has probably the highest ceiling in the league. And I would love to have a Matthew Stafford MVP ticket if he is able to stay healthy.
Rams total 8.5 over 40, so just under almost 9 really.
Yeah.
I mean, but you're going to pay for the for the 8.5 at 7-5.
Alex and I talked about this when we did the Rams on Tuesday, where yes, you have the 8.5 minus 40. You also have a make the playoff number at plus money right now on the Rams. That was the direction that we both liked, where, again, that NFC wild card race. And again, this all depends on Stafford staying upright. If Stafford gets hurt, they're probably not going to make the playoffs. Like, it won't be as big of a train wreck as it was 2 years ago. But it still probably would dip down to 7 wins, 7-10 if it's an extended Jimmy Garoppolo experience. in LA. Again, these schedules. They get the AFC East in cross. They get the NFC North in cross.
Yeah.
I've already made it a point that I think the NFC North is the best division in the NFL this year. Forget just the NFC, but it's interesting to say there. The bottom two teams for all of us, by the way, Alex's order of finish is the exact same as Ryan's, which is San Francisco, the Rams, then the Cardinals, then the Seahawks. I just flipped the Cardinals and Seahawks. I have Seahawks 3, Cardinals 4, top two are the same. Just merging the two birds together here real quick. Seattle has a new head coach, first time in a long time with no Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
Offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb has never coached in the National Football League as a coordinator. New look defensive coordinator as well. It's just interesting with the Seattle team where Pete Carroll, as we learned 2 years ago, was worth a lot more to that team than a lot of people gave him credit for. Now with a new first-time head coach, defense first team, how is this going to look in Seattle is a big-time question for me. I still think they'll be better than Arizona, but I don't think they're particularly close to the postseason this year. Really don't.
Well, just one final note on the Rams, at least
please.
for me.
Go ahead.
They get the entire month of October at home.
That's not bad.
They get the Packers at home, then they get their bye week, they get the Raiders, then the Vikings at home. They spend the entire month of October in Southern California, and then they get a gift from the league, their final 2 weeks of the season at home against these two bottom teams in the division, the Cardinals and the Seahawks. So I do think they have a very high ceiling, but going to Seattle, I really don't know what to expect with this team. You mentioned it, first-year head coach, and now the youngest coach in the league, Mike McDonald, with Leslie Frazier being added as his assistant head coach, who's been coaching football since 1988. But yeah, they promoted Ryan Grubb from Washington to be their OC, and their defensive coordinator is Aiden Dirty, who has been the defensive line coach for the Cowboys the last 3 seasons. So I don't know what to expect with this coaching staff, with this roster. DK Metcalf has 2 years left on his deal. But in my mind, they have a very similar look to the Giants did when they first hired Brian Daboll. They can be very bad and have a top pick in next year's draft and be able to build this roster how they want it. Or if they're very good, they're going to be stuck with Geno Smith, and they're going to have to figure things out in 2-3 years, just like the Giants are having to do with Daniel Jones after giving him a massive contract. But the wild card in this division, to me, the team that has a lot of potential, but could also go the very opposite way, is those Cardinals. They have the exact same coaching staff from last year. Jonathan Gannon at head coach, Drew Petzing at offensive coordinator, and Nick Rallis as defensive coordinator. In Philly, Gannon had a top 10 defense his final 2 years there, ranking second in total defense in 2022. Last season, they were bottom 5 in points allowed, yards allowed per play, takeaways, first downs allowed, passing touchdowns allowed, and rushing touchdowns allowed, as well as allowed score by the offense on 44% of offensive drives. So they were not good on defense at all last year, but they were able to add some pieces, maybe ones that Jonathan Gannon wants or wanted in order to kind of correct that. And then they also add, obviously, Marvin Harrison Jr. to that offense. They draft Trey Benson in the 3rd round out of Florida State, who could be a fantastic partner with James Conner. And then they added what could be a diamond in the rough out of UAB, wide receiver Tayshaun Palmer, who could be a big help to that offense, being able to have the weapons. But this offense is going to go through the run game, try and take the things off of Kyler Murray's shoulders, being that he is coming off of injury, hasn't exactly looked the way that they expected, and having to run all the way around the field with the offensive line questions. So I do think this team getting James Conner, who was 4th, who had one of the best, had his best season, his first season over 1,000 rushing yards, 4th in the league in rushing yards per game, and forced 27 missed tackles in just 13 games. And then you had Trey Benson, who had 124 missed tackles, or forcing 124 missed tackles in his last 2 seasons at Florida State, and runs a 4.39 40. So this offense has a good amount of weapons and should be able to put up points. And they're my wild card in this division.
Well, all good points, guys. When you looked at, you brought up the Rams' schedule, and that's another reason why you wait to put up the regular season wins, at least in our situation, until the schedule comes out as a whole. you knew the opponents, but what's the sequence
Right.
of the games, which is very important. And the 2 points you brought up about the month of October and in the last 2 games. So that plays into things, right? Seattle going through transition, and certainly you have to kind of wait and see. It's interesting with Seattle, though, they did bet the over 7.5 to 135. We used 7.5 over, which is minus 120, and even to the under on the opener. So over 35 there. But they also bet the Cardinals over from 6.5 to 7. Now the Cardinals too. Here's the thing about the Cardinals. I mean, they're going to go. We talk about quarterbacks, and we talked about Stafford and how he impacts the Rams situation. Murray, the same way. The thing about this Arizona team, you have to be mindful of. They play hard. They play. You say, well, in the pros, everybody plays. Not everybody plays as hard as on the same level of playing as tough. Look at the teams they beat last year, right? Pittsburgh. They beat the Ravens. They won some games.
Shocked the Cowboys.
They destroyed a lot of people's multi-level bets, whether it was teasers or parlays, survivor pools, and things like that. So this is a team that I think has a good, solid coaching staff, and they play for each other, and you can see that it's reflected on the field. Look, the thing about it, guys, is now that said, they're still the 4th choice at 15-1 in the division. Seattle is 8-1. I think that we'll see a little bit of, it's not like somebody's going to bet the divisions necessarily, or the division to not go to San Francisco. However, you're seeing more action, as I mentioned, in the regular season win area, and so that's where there's an uptick. By the way, the Rams on the Super Bowl, believe it or not, we took, and again, I don't think this was regional bias by any means, but it was interesting. The Rams opened 25. We took. They're one of the teams that's gotten some summer interest at the betting counter. They're down to 18-1.
I think you do bring up the regional bias part. People just obviously hop in the car, get on the 15, and come up from L.A., but again, if Stafford stays upright, and
they're difficult, they're tough,
and it is, and look, we all know it is so difficult to. This is why part of the greatness for Kansas City. It's so hard to get to the Super Bowl back-to-back years.
Mm-hmm.
Too many things have to go right in order for you to get there once. Forget about back-to-back. And this Niner team, where as good as they are on paper, we mentioned earlier in the week, Brandon Ayuk's unhappy with his contract. Deebo Samuel's entering a contract year. Who knows if that situation blows up at some point. Mm-hmm. And fair or not, there are still question marks of, hey, what is Brock Purdy? Is he what he was last year? Because if he is what he was last year, except for the Baltimore game, Brock Purdy's a top 7 quarterback in this league, and the Niners are absolutely more than capable of getting back to the Super Bowl. If he's not that, you know what? Then you're kind of back in the same realm that they were with Garoppolo, where, all right, they made it that one Super Bowl, probably should have won that Super Bowl against Kansas City, didn't. And then we're getting to the NFC title games, or in the years where Garoppolo got hurt, they were flaming out. So the Rams are the team that is, assuming Stafford stays upright, the one that can take the best shot at possibly KOing the Niners in this division. I'm happy you brought up the playing hard point, Vinny, because we made that a lot with Arizona last year, where we thought they were going to be one of the worst teams in NFL history. Even though they were 4-13, very easily could have won 7 games last year.
No doubt.
If they had Kyler Murray for a whole season, they probably would have won 7 or 8 games a year ago. Even though I have them finishing last, they're high variance for me. I would not be shocked if they're pushing the playoffs if things go right. It also wouldn't shock me if Murray gets hurt and they go 3-14.
Wouldn't shock you either if they finish ahead of Seattle, certainly.
Yeah, wouldn't shock me one bit.
Yep.
There you go on the screen. Niners, Rams, Seahawks, Cardinals for my finish here today. Before we let you go, before we get out of here for the weekend, soccer handle has been outrageous. The crowds have been fun. Now, granted, no one wants to score goals in this match either. 0-0 through the first 45. Just started the second half between England and Switzerland, Vinny.
They did bet. This was 2-way, actually. Believe it or not, I thought there would be more support for the Lions, if you will, but not the case. So good 2-way there for us. Love that. The next game, all about the Netherlands.
That's not surprising.
And I don't think
one
that's
bit.
a shock at all. So, but the Euro has been great. Copa America, and we got the game here tonight.
Well, I mean, tonight, we mentioned it earlier, Brazil and Uruguay. You mentioned it yesterday on the show. The South Point Suite has no seats left.
It's. I think it's sold out. So I mean, that's an indication. When the customer demand is.
It will be. It is the highest profile soccer match that will probably ever take place in the city because the World Cup is not coming here in 2 years,
which is a shame.
Which is a shame. It is big time shame. It's kind of silly. That
although the USA Mexico game last year, was it last year? I think.
Yeah, I think this is higher profile.
This is. Profile. With the USA it was in Mexico. I mean, and the Mexican fan, the way they travel. I mean, it's amazing. So, but this game tonight will be.
I looked at possibly getting tickets. Shutout would be the way to go on that.
Yeah.
Just very, very pricey to say the very least.
Yes.
Ryan, great work, buddy. Great work.
Good stuff, boys.
Definitely have you back at some point on the desk on this side of the glass, Vinny. Pleasure as always. Drew Dog, Sean, good job. Good job as always. Our weekend begins now. Race Day Las Vegas weekend does not start until Monday, though. That's back tomorrow, 7 in the morning. Ralph Sirocco Company gets you ready for a countrywide look at all horse racing here in the U.S. and maybe even a little bit abroad. You never know. And then Monday, Ryan McCormick is back with Frank Nicotero, with Punchlines with Frank Nicotero at noon Pacific time. And this show is back at 9 a.m. on Tuesday. We'll have a different co-host as well. Alex still with a few well-deserved days off. I'm Jeff Parles. This has been Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.